She traveled through Europe and she knew what men were for. He was in the cavalry, wore red upon his tunic, a handsome bearded horseman who had never been to war. You would say if you met them they were golden-eyed children.
Okay, so we're now on the Danish island of Tåsinge, and the journey here, although it's taken most of today, it's actually taken personally over 20 years. So when I was at university, I purchased a folk CD with a variety of folk songs from lots of different artists, and one of them was a really incredibly beautiful song by a Yorkshire band called Mr. Fox, and it was called Elvira, Madigan, and it told the story of two lovers. He never names the other one in the song. His name is Sixten Spalley, but they were two lovers who in 1889, he was an officer in the Swedish army and she was a tightrope walker in the circus, and they fell in love and they ran away together. So he deserted from the army, left his wife and his children, and she left the circus, and they went off to this island in Denmark, and they basically lived in romantic bliss. But of course they were being chased because it's illegal to desert from the army, and they rapidly ran out of money, and in the end they both spent their last pennies on a picnic, and they went out into the forest. They had this picnic and then shot each other in a suicide pact. And at the time, romanticism was, of course, very powerful as an idea, and people saw them as a modern day embodiment of Romeo and Juliet or other such lovers. And so this myth, this kind of cult grew up around them, and I just thought it's an absolutely tragic but really beautiful story. And in 1967 a film was made by a Swedish director, and it was a really beautiful film. It was the kind of film you would expect to be made in the 60s with all the soft colours. It was a bit hippie-ish. It was great. And indeed they had a soundtrack from Mozart that became so famous now, that piece of music everyone refers to it as the Elvira Madigan Concerto. And what we're doing today is we are going to their graves, because I've wanted to go there for 20 years, and we're going to lay some flowers on the graves, and then perhaps later we will go to the spot where they shot each other and pay our own tribute. So,
but
in about 5 miles that direction is Landitz, which is where in the churchyard is where they are both buried. Thank you. Yeah. How are you doing? So we're now going off to find the site where the two tragic lovers committed their suicide pact. Yes. So we are now at the spot where Elvira Madigan and Sixten Sparre committed suicide, and what we thought we'd do to kind of mark the fact that we've come here and mark what happened at this spot is we want to do our own recreation of the suicide pact. Now, I've got a beard, and Sixten Sparre, well, he did have a beard, but he shaved it off, but I'm going to be Sixten Sparre. And so Thomas is going to be Elvira Madigan, and he's got an outfit to look convincing.
Elvira Madigan had blonde hair, so
yeah,
I tried doing that.
Yeah, and she was also Scandinavian.
Yeah.
And that's quite a Scandinavian look you got on.
Just to replicate it, like to show it.
Yeah, and also obviously there was a pistol. Now we're not sure
what kind of pistol it was.
It may not have been one of those, but it may have been.
But we found this pistol, and we think it may have been the one which was used. We don't know though.
No, but a bit of artistic license here. So, okay, so let's go.
Jag kan inte.
Du måste.
Jag kan inte.
Du måste.
I can't.
You must.
I can't.
You must.
Kan inte.
You must.
I can't.
You must.
I can't.
You must.
I can't.
You must. You must. You must.
I can't. I can't. I can't.
You must.
I can't.
You must. You must. You must. You must.
I can't.
You must.
I can't.
You must.
I can't.
You must.
I can't.
You must. You must. You must.
Mit elskers par, der vil gå. Der flyver fuglen over Nørre skov. Den hører, at ungerne har kom spændt for sund. Hun følte, at hun stod på lykkens stine. Længe var at skæbnen blev så hård. Der flyver fuglen over Nørre skov. Den hører, at ungerne har en løjtnant sig selv og sin pigevåg. De var to varme hjertet.
So we're now at Tarsinger Museum, and apparently there's a Elvira and Sixten section in here. So I'm in the museum now, but I learnt in the really quite extensive exhibition on Elvira, Madigan and Sixteenth Barrier there. Apparently like a day or so before they died, they went and climbed that church tower there. And they, and one of the guest books or something, they signed themselves, or she signed herself, Vestimara or something like that, and it was a famous like suicide pact, so it shows they were kind of thinking of death, as it were. And there's also, they had a poem with them that was along similar lines. Because there is another school of thought that, you know, she actually wanted to leave him and he killed her and then killed himself. But that doesn't seem to be backed up by the evidence. Besides, who wants that to be the truth? Elvira was a circus girl who walked the tightrope bravely. She travelled through Europe and she knew what men were for. He was in the cavalry, wore braid upon his tunic, a handsome bearded horseman who had never been to war. You would say if you met them they were golden-eyed children, for the one thing they wanted they gave both health and fame. God help Elvira, and God help her lover, and God help anyone who tries to do the same. He left his wife and children and the regiment behind him, stripped the braid from his tunic, tossed his buttons on the ground. She left the roaring crowds and knights of the circus to go with a deserter and run from town to town. And many's the time they thought they'd found their safety, a room to love and shelter from the wind and the rain. But a knock on the door or a face at the window, and many's the time they were on the move again. You would say if you met them they were golden-eyed children, for the one thing they wanted they gave both health and fame. God help Elvira, and God help her lover, and God help anyone who tries to do the same. He sold the last possessions and bought a loaf and butter. He robbed a hen house and they left once more to roam. In the middle of a meadow they both sat down to picnic. When he touched Elvira she was cold as a stone. Elvira knew the pistol was hidden in the basket. She whispered to her lover, make it soon, make it soon. Elvira chased a butterfly and caught it in her fingers. She fell from the tightrope and the audience went home. You would say if you met them they were golden-eyed children, for the one thing they wanted they gave both health and fame. God help Elvira, and God help her lover, and God help anyone who tries to do the same. And God bless Sixten Sparre and Hedvig Jensen, also known as Elvira Madigan. Died on the 1st of July, 1889, in a suicide pact. Amen.
If you met them, they were golden-eyed